Following a significant court ruling, South Africa's Department of Home Affairs is preparing to engage in a series of consultations regarding the future status of approximately 230,000 migrants from Zimbabwe and Lesotho. These individuals, many of whom have resided in South Africa for many years under various visa programs, were initially at risk of deportation, but the court's decision has granted them a reprieve, allowing them to remain in the country until a formal outcome from the consultations is reached. This ruling underscores a growing need to address complex migration and residency issues amid heightened concerns over socio-economic pressures and regional stability, which are closely tied to migration patterns in southern Africa. At the heart of these consultations is a commitment from the Department of Home Affairs to approach the discussions without a predetermined agenda, thereby opening avenues for a potentially broad spectrum of outcomes. This open-ended approach signals an unprecedented willingness by South African authorities to re-evaluate traditional migration policies. Minister Leon Schreiber, who oversees the Department of Home Affairs, stated that the consultations would consider multiple factors, including humanitarian concerns, economic impact, and regional diplomatic relationships. This represents a departure from previous efforts that often focused on strict compliance with migration controls and the immediate repatriation of individuals who did not meet visa or permit requirements. The consultations will involve numerous stakeholders, including government officials, civil society organizations, human rights advocates, representatives from the Zimbabwean and Lesotho migrant communities, and potentially officials from Zimbabwe and Lesotho. The South African government, through the Department of Home Affairs, is considering a consultative approach that involves both public hearings and closed-door discussions to ensure a comprehensive evaluation of the situation. In particular, advocacy groups like the Scalabrini Center and Lawyers for Human Rights have called for a transparent process that will allow the migrants themselves to express their needs and challenges. For many migrants, this is an opportunity to seek permanent residency or other forms of regularized status that would allow them to contribute fully to South African society. According to statistics from the Department of Home Affairs, Zimbabweans constitute the majority of the migrants in question, with approximately 178,000 of the total 230,000 originating from Zimbabwe. Many Zimbabwean migrants initially came to South Africa under the Zimbabwe Exemption Permit (ZEP) program, which was introduced in 2010 as a temporary measure. The ZEP program provided a 4-year work, study, or business permit to Zimbabweans fleeing the socio-economic and political crisis that plagued Zimbabwe during the 2000s and beyond. Lesotho nationals, who make up a smaller proportion of the group, have also used various special permits to stay in South Africa, often citing economic hardship and limited opportunities in Lesotho as the driving factors for their migration. The special permits for Lesotho nationals were first introduced in 2016 through the Lesotho Special Permit (LSP) program, which aimed to regularize undocumented Lesotho nationals already living and working in South Africa. While the precise economic impact of these migrant communities is difficult to quantify, several studies suggest that they play a vital role in South Africa's informal economy. Many migrants from Zimbabwe and Lesotho are employed in sectors such as agriculture, domestic work, and informal trading, which are known for high demand but often low wages. According to a report by the African Centre for Migration and Society, ACMS, at the University of the Witwatersrand, migrant workers contribute significantly to South Africa's economy by filling roles that are frequently overlooked by local workers. In agriculture alone, it is estimated that migrants constitute up to 30% of the workforce in provinces like Limpopo and Mpumalanga. The economic impact of removing these workers could be substantial, with employers facing potential labor shortages and communities potentially experiencing disruptions in local economies. As the consultations progress, the government must also address public concerns about the perceived strain on South Africa's public services, particularly in education and healthcare. According to data from Statistics South Africa, the number of foreign nationals, particularly from Zimbabwe and Lesotho, seeking services in South African public hospitals and schools has risen over the past decade. This trend has sparked debates among local residents and politicians alike, with some arguing that the South African government should prioritize citizens' access to these resources. However, human rights organizations like Amnesty International have pointed out that migrants contribute to the tax base through value-added taxes and other indirect taxes, arguing that they are entitled to access the services they help fund. The consultations will therefore likely include discussions about the financial implications of integrating these migrants into the system in a way that is both economically viable and socially responsible. The diplomatic dimension of these consultations cannot be overlooked. Relations between South Africa and its neighboring countries, particularly Zimbabwe and Lesotho, are expected to play a crucial role in shaping the final outcome. Zimbabwean ambassador to South Africa has expressed optimism that a collaborative approach can lead to a solution that respects both South Africa's sovereignty and the rights of Zimbabwean nationals. Similarly, Lesotho's Minister of Foreign Affairs has indicated that his government is closely monitoring the situation and is prepared to offer assistance where necessary. The potential impact of these consultations on regional cooperation is significant, as other countries in the Southern African Development Community, SADC, may look to South Africa's approach as a model for handling migration issues within the region. The court decision and subsequent consultations have also drawn the attention of international organizations, including the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, and the International Organization for Migration, IOM. Both organizations have offered technical support to South Africa's Department of Home Affairs, particularly in areas of refugee protection, migrant integration, and capacity building. The UNHCR, for instance, has emphasized the importance of maintaining South Africa's long-standing tradition of providing refuge to those fleeing persecution, while the IOM has highlighted the need to address irregular migration flows through a mix of policy reform and regional collaboration. The Department of Home Affairs has not yet announced a specific timeline for concluding the consultations, but preliminary discussions are expected to commence in the coming months, with a final recommendation to be made by mid-2025. The outcome could range from extending the current temporary permits for Zimbabweans and Basotho, introducing a path to permanent residency, or implementing stricter immigration controls with enhanced monitoring of migrant populations. Each of these options carries its own set of economic, social, and political implications, making this one of the most complex immigration-related consultations South Africa has undertaken in recent years. For the approximately 230,000 migrants awaiting the government's decision, the stakes are high, as the outcome will determine whether they can continue to build their lives in South Africa or face the uncertainty of repatriation to countries still grappling with economic and political challenges. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates.